You already know.
I don't know what time it is. Let's talk about it.
Uh-oh. Y'all get ready. Just 7 months.
Boosie. Yeah, buddy.
Let's go.
That's the first thing Vlad had an issue with. Vlad had an issue with Boosie saying he only wanted $5,000. Vlad will say that Boosie actually wanted a 40% increase on what he was already getting paid. And he will say, yo, when Boosie asked for this increase, he did his due diligence, looked at the numbers, and figured out that Boosie wasn't worth what he was asking, and actually tried to tell Boosie and show Boosie the numbers, but nothing worked, and Boosie called him greedy over the phone.
Originally, I wasn't paying him to do interviews. But over time, as the views kept going up and people were really gravitating towards these interviews, we started working out appearance fees. And the fees slowly went up. And over the last couple of years, the fee that we actually stuck at was around was $25,000 per interview.
I just want to point out, I told y'all Boosie was getting paid $25,000 per interview yesterday, and y'all called me a liar and asked me how did I know.
And that price was justified
because
Boosie was pulling in like 6 million views for every interview. And in that particular situation, and I showed Boosie all the numbers and all my back-end numbers and so forth. When he was getting around 5.5 million views, I would make around $35,000 off that interview, and he would make $25,000. Right? So I had a $10,000 profit margin. He still made the majority of the money, but I was still making $10,000, so I was cool with that. Right? And we were rocking like that for years. So some time had passed. It was, I don't know, about 6, 7, 8 months since our last interview. So I just hit him up one day, a couple of weeks ago, and we had a conversation. And this conversation was a private business conversation, but Boosie recently did a live where he revealed parts of this conversation, and in his live, he said that he had asked for $5,000 more, and I said no, which is why he's not going to do the interview.
I wanted $5,000 more than he wanted to pay me. He didn't want to pay me, so I think I'm gonna make more money doing it this way. And I'm editing my interview now.
Now, that's not exactly accurate. So, I wasn't going to put any of this out there, but because he started putting out numbers out there and people started going, oh Vlad, being cheap, why is it only $5,000? You could pay him that, not knowing the whole picture. So I'm going to lay out the whole picture for everyone just to explain what exactly is going on.
Awesome!
So when I called Boosie, like I said, the fee had always been $25,000. He said, I want $40,000.
If Boosie was getting 6 million long-form views, I'm talking about...
That puts a little bit more perspective on a situation and reaction I did yesterday. I'm thinking brother just gave 6'9", 50 out of nowhere, but if this was something y'all been doing and then you seen another man's pockets and then wanted to start doing that, you can't, I don't respect that, Boosie. I don't respect that. That's not honorable.
Over 18 or 20-minute long videos, then it's worth it because that's how the numbers work. But in the case of Vlad TV and Boosie, Vlad TV is cutting up those clips and they're like 4, 5, 6 minutes long. That's about $5 per 1,000 views, right? Probably $6, $7 per 1,000 views. If the clip is under 8 minutes, it's about $5 per 1,000 views. If it's above 8 minutes, from 8 to 10 minutes, it's about $7, $8. If it's over 15 minutes, it's about $10 per 1,000 views. So if Boosie was getting 6 million views on the long-form interviews, then that would have justified him getting $40,000 automatically, because if he's getting paid, let's say $10 per 1,000 views, 6 million views, that's $60,000. That's a clear margin. But if Boosie is getting the majority of these views, like on the clips, then yeah, no, we can average it out to about, let's say, $6 per 1,000 views. We can probably say like what? That's about, I don't know, man, $35,000 coming in. If you're paying him $25,000, that could justify the $10,000 margin.
That's honorable.
But you can't justify paying him $40 if he's getting 6 million views. Yeah. Now, the counter to this, and the devil's advocate here is, Vlad, that's YouTube views. You repurpose the clips on Facebook as well. Facebook pays probably just as well as YouTube.
I didn't even know
And
Facebook
you
pays for
monetize it here,
content.
and here.
Damn.
So, in the grand scheme of things, you probably are getting more money coming in from outside of YouTube as well.
Damn, yo.
But nonetheless,
He's
though,
putting me on
if
so
the
much
bread and
game
butter
right
is
now.
YouTube and you're counting on the YouTube views to be consistent, then you have to pay him, you know, per the YouTube views, right? According to you,
know that.
then yeah, like 40,000 will be absurd if the majority of the views is from short form. If the majority is coming from long form, then 40,000 will be pretty accurate here. So Vlad goes on and say that, you know, that like Boosie calls him cheap. Now Boosie may not know this, and let me tell Boosie this: calling a Jewish man cheap is like a slur. Like calling a Jewish man cheap, calling him greedy, is like calling him a racial slur. They get super upset and super angry at that. So if Boosie was doing it as negotiation strategy, that's probably the worst strategy you could do. All right, you call that Jewish man cheap and greedy. He's looking at you as if you the enemy. He's looking at you as if like you like, I don't know, you feel me, like a Nazi soldier or something, but he's looking at you as if you're like an enemy if you call him cheap or greedy. So in the case of Vlad, I don't feel like Vlad was being cheap per se. Now, could Vlad make the 40,000 worth? Maybe, but that would take Boosie coming and Boosie giving Vlad, I'm talking about one of the greatest interviews of all time, especially with the hiatus. But the thing with Boosie is he's not asking for 40K one time. As Vlad would explain, if Boosie was asking for 40K one time, then maybe. But Boosie is asking for 40K as the new fee. So whenever Vlad TV wants to have him in, he got to agree to $40,000. And to me, that's, you know, that's kind of too much. I wouldn't pay that, but I'm not Boosie. I don't know the analytics. Vlad TV didn't give me the analytics. He gave Boosie the analytics.
And I'm like, fam, I can't do 40,000. That's just putting me in the hole in a situation like this. He's like, well, I'll go as low as 35. And I'm like, man, listen, I might be able to do 30 after I run the numbers, but 35 is definitely out of the question. But let me go ahead and run my numbers and actually see what's going on. So I went back and I looked through the last, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 interviews. And I looked, and the profit margin on each of these interviews was around $10,000. So I showed him the numbers. I sent him a spreadsheet showing him my back-end numbers. And I'm like, bro, the most I could do is 25. You're asking for 35. Your traffic has been dipping over the years. You've gone from about 6 million to about 5.5 to about 5 and some change. So you're looking at about maybe a 10, 15% decrease in views, which means a 10 to 15% decrease in revenue, as you know. But you're asking for a 40% increase in appearance fee. A 40% increase. It doesn't make any business sense, because what'll end up happening is,
Nobody gonna make
look, Boosie's already at home, right?
Boosie gonna make profit. Your white ass is not gonna be able to wear a Burberry. It's just that simple, man.